So I'm Zach, and I lead product management for collaboration and mobile at Tableau. And with me is Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm a solution consultant. Basically, that means my job is to help people along their journey to seeing and understanding their data.
And
was that for me?
And you get fire truck entry.
Nice.
Awesome.
So that's that. Sorry, I'm completely lost where I am now.
One of the things that I always like to know when I come to a session like this is kind of who I'm talking to. And so Eric and I put together a little slide here that has a journey that we took recently. In my case, this is a journey on my run on Sunday where I ran out to City Park and then back down the Esplanade. In the park was, and I don't know if you can see her, she's very small, this woman sitting in that pergola, I don't know what you would call it, playing the French horn. And it was beautiful. How many places in the world can you go to hear something like that out in public, just serendipitously? Nobody asked her to be there. And I thought how wonderful it was that I had the opportunity to be on that journey and that I could capture the moment with my mobile phone, which up until a few years ago we didn't have very many of. I gained my passion for mobile when I worked at Microsoft, where I led the App Store for Windows and Windows Phone, and I spent a lot of time working with app developers, sort of learning about their journey and what it took to go from their traditional desktop background into building for mobile devices and how that's different.
And on the right, you can see actually my journey this past summer. My wife and I took our children to Costa Rica for 10 or 11 days. This was part of the journey in the rainforest. The funny thing about this trip is that I bought a really nice, expensive camera intending to shoot a lot of beautiful photographs. And I will say I did use that camera, like 5-to-1 ratio of the number of pictures I took with this, because it's just always with me. I don't have to pull it out and think. It's that, you know, that's a big part of what mobile is. That's the thing that we have with us, right? So, just a brief bit about me. I am a data nerd from the mid-'80s. I worked for a small database company while I was still in college, or when I was still in grade school, or something like that, a long time ago, and I've just always been around data. I've loved visualization, and one of the really interesting things to me as I work with my mostly enterprise customers is this idea of putting analytics where people are, and that's what brings me to this topic today. So I found this fun fact on the interwebs. This is a survey that was run by the Daily Mail in the UK, where they came to the conclusion that people have a pretty atrocious phone habit. Quickly, raise your hand if you have a mobile phone. Okay, all right. Sometimes I'm worried that I'll ask a question like that and there'll be one person in the back that was like, well, now I'm excluded. Yeah, they're incredibly common. And what would you say, somebody please offer, what would you say people do with their phone? Social media, everything. Yeah, sorry? Communicate. Yeah, those are the things, those are like the intent that they have. But what is the activity? Like if you were to use a verb, what would you say? They scroll. Yeah, this is a scroll. They check. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they're talking about here. People check. They check their phones. That's what they're for. Or do they go deep in exploring data? No, they check. That's kind of what people use their phone for. So in order to enable a culture in an organization that can answer questions effectively when and where those questions are asked, mobile can be an effective tool if and only if it has the information required to answer those questions in that moment. So today on our journey,
In 3 parts, you will learn, number 1, how you can quickly and easily produce a mobile dashboard. Who wants to be quick and easy about mobile dashboard production? Yes, yes, please make it quick and easy. Second, we are going to go into some great design techniques you can use to create a really compelling and useful mobile experience. And third, we will talk about some practices and some techniques that you can use to develop that culture in your organization where people are just doing this automatically. So, for our first step, we have a story. In this story, my boss, who always wears those glasses, needs to get mobile data, oh snap, on her phone, right meow. She's also Eric's boss, by the way. So what's an approach that we could use to take this desktop data and try to make it available in the context of a mobile device? Is anyone here familiar with the concept of reductionism? Anyone? No. Great. I am very happy to be the one to introduce you to this concept from the mid-17th century. Reductionism is the idea that any particular thing can be described as a series of component parts, simplified systems. So in this case, Descartes has drawn a picture of a duck. Do you get it? Reductionist. As a series of automatons, right? Each has a function. Some take things in, others put things out. So you can imagine this same principle may be applied to dashboard design. If I have a desktop dashboard, I can take it, figure out what its pieces are, what its purpose is, and I can reduce down and simplify this concept to a thing that would be effective in the context of mobile, where people do what? They check. They check. It's got to be fast, simple, easy. So, Eric, time is of the essence.
Isn't it always?
It is always of the essence. Your challenge, should you choose to accept it, can we get a mobile dashboard quickly?
Let's give it a shot. What do you think? So, quickly, I'm going to give you all permission to hold your phone in your hand. Please don't open it up and start actually doing this. But
I've got my phone.
Grab your phone. First of all, how are you holding it? Anybody holding it like this? Okay,
No.
then you'd be watching Netflix. No.
Sorry, okay, I'll stop.
Or YouTube, one of the two. So now put yourself back in that spot where you're cruising Twitter or Instagram or something like that. How do you navigate that? I'm seeing a lot of thumbs. Does anybody do this? Most of the time it's your thumb, right? You get the phone that's the right size for your hand, hopefully the right size for your eyes, that sort of thing, and you scroll. Making fun of my own eyes now. That's maybe the most essential bit about mobile design, is making it so that you can check and that you can get at it easily. So a couple of quick thoughts before we get into it. Just about thinking vertically. You don't have to squish everything onto the same screen. Just let people scroll, because that's what they're going to do anyway. Center the top part of your view on whatever is most important. Put filters within easy reach of your thumb, and get rid of that extraneous stuff. In other words, reduce the amount of this is the. By the way, I love that duck. It was he found that image and I was like, oh my God, that's the funniest thing. Anyway, brilliant. So the task is to reduce something to something else. And, oop, wrong way. Let's do this guy.
Now, what is this dashboard for here?
This dashboard is for monitoring our sales metrics. And these sales metrics are showing something very important, is that we have this really impressive little spike in sales, but as you can see from the line below, our profits are flat. Our boss, Kelly, is going to embark on a kind of emergency road trip around our sales regions to try and dig into what's going on, and that's why she needs this dashboard where she can get at it, which is on her phone. She's not going to be hauling her laptop. She wants to be able to get off the plane and start digging into it as she's going into these meetings.
And if we don't help her quick, she might get catty.
Thank you. So, where do you begin? Right? How many of you have used the device layouts? Okay, it looks like about half, maybe a third or so. For those of you who haven't, first of all, you activate it just by clicking this, and that opens that little toolbar right along the top. This is a way of creating a new layout for your existing dashboard, and you can model it around several different form factors. In this case, we're going to choose phone. You can see, if you look carefully, that it's kind of even drawn an outline of the phone. Now, I know Kelly has a large form factor iPhone, so we'll stick with the iPhone 7 Plus. Now, again, if we think about the rules of all of this, we're vertical, most important thing at the top, all of those things. So let's dive in and see what happens. Whoa. Look at that. Look at this. So Tableau actually just took that dashboard and intelligently laid it out vertically. I've got everything here. Now, that's pretty good, like just one shot, and you've already got something that's useful. This is a dashboard that's going to be an automatic feature starting in 2019.1, which entered beta. It was announced today, or yesterday?
It was announced yesterday, but shown on Devs on Stage
exactly.
today!
TC always ends up being one really big day for me, so there you go. So, I also know, though, that Kelly asked me for a specific viz to be on this that I have built, but haven't actually added to the dashboard yet, and that's around a little bit more detail around products. So if I actually just grab it here and drop it right in the middle of this dashboard and come back to the phone layout, let's scroll a bit, and it's right there.
Oh, it's like magic.
This is, again, this automatic layout actually will add things. As you modify your dashboard and add things, they'll just automatically show up in this mobile layout. And that's really powerful in and of itself. It's mobile dashboard without you having to do any intentional intervention. I want to take this just a little further, so instead of using the automatic layout, I'll switch to editing the layout myself. Now, these KPIs probably aren't important for this particular mission, so I'm just going to delete them. Same with this. I'm not sure we're terribly interested in this. We're really interested in the higher level trends. And I'd like also to make those filters a little more accessible. So let's bring these down where, again, if you think about how you hold your phone, you want to be able to get at these things with your thumb, right? That's not bad. Pretty quick, pretty simple. You want to see how this looks on a phone, on an actual phone? I'm seeing nodding.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, let's do that.
We must be on the post-lunch high here. Or are we just still waiting to get to lunch?
We're starving all of these people.
Okay, excellent. I'll talk fast. So let's do this. Okay, so here it is. Now look at this. So it's right there. Lovely. Phones, filters within reach. But this actually brings up another point, something that's new in beta right now, and that is what we call enhanced gesture mode. It allows you to do things like simulating a hover on a phone device. So, when you have those nice tooltips where you'll hover over marks and be able to see the tooltip as you move along. You can simulate that here with a light touch. Once the tooltip pops, it's a little jumpy on this particular dashboard, but you'll get this nice little scroll, and you can simply mouse through and see the data behind it and pick up the tooltip. And if you release, you'll actually get a mark selection. So you can dive further into that if you'd like.
That's great. That's a way to select from dense data.
Exactly. Right. Now, if we look at another thing that you might want to do with this, especially on a smaller screen where you've got a pretty dense map, enhanced gesture also allows you to, with 2 fingers, scroll down deeper into the map. And then you could do mark selection with that, and render the viz, deselect, and that's pretty handy as well if you're actually exploring a map, especially if you've got something with a lot of marks on it. Now finally, has anybody built a mobile dashboard where they've run into scrolling issues, where you're scrolling up and down the dashboard, you hit a scrolling zone within it, right? Well, check this out. This is this product name is a scrolling zone, and with 2 fingers, you can actually see that we can move around within that, or you can scroll the whole dashboard with a single finger. Pretty cool, right?
What do you think? Yeah?
All right?
Useful? Yes. Oh gosh, you guys, we really are starving you.
We'll get it going. Let's pop back over here. So, first of all, good news, auto layouts are coming, and it's amazing. It's a great way not only to just have a phone layout for a dashboard, but also as a starting point and a jumping off point for your own tweaks to these things. Enhanced gesture mode is a really powerful way for the end users to explore in a richer and easier way. It might take a little bit of coaching, but please help them along. Also, just a little tidbit of advice on design. You probably all have these sitting next to you as you're building dashboards, right? Build, publish, test, rinse and repeat as necessary. It's a simple thing to do. When I was building the dashboards for this session, dozens of times for each of these. And it's really fast, iterative, nice way. It's the right way to use Tableau anyway, but it's fast, it's iterative, and it's a powerful way to get a really good sense of what's going on. And one other thing, just another side note about navigating on mobile devices, favorites will make all of your end users' lives easier. Rather than having to sort through and dig through for your content, favorite these things. And you can do that either from the mobile device or from your browser, because it's all the same dashboard, whether it's mobile or desktop. And any devs out there? People who like to write code and scripts and that sort of thing? Okay, cool. For you guys, we actually have an API that'll allow you to favorite one dashboard for dozens of people, or dozens of dashboards for hundreds of people, or whatever you see fit. So enjoy that.
That's a really common question that I hear. That stuff is super easy, Eric.
Crazy easy.
Oh, I can't believe it. Well, what else is there left for us to do?
Get lunch?
That's what everybody wants. No, I mean, that was okay, right? I mean, it worked. I could use it. But are we satisfied with okay? No, we want it to rock. So, what is it going to take to get there? We are entering the process of design. Design can be an ambiguous thing. It is very hard to predict the outcome of your design process at the beginning. You know you're going to get somewhere, but you're not sure exactly where that place will be, as evidenced in this diagram of a real-life design process. No, somebody just like scribbled something with a pencil here. You sometimes go forward, you sometimes go back. There can be loops where you change where you think you need to go. And at the beginning is when it is most messy. So we need to be emotionally prepared for that experience. We need to be open-minded and ready to see where this journey is going to lead us. And even when you think you've got a conceptual design that's pretty good, there might still be tweaking to do. So, a common question that I ask myself: how much is enough in the context of a mobile dashboard? And as the Stones most famously said in their infinite wisdom and omniscience about the future, you can't always get what you want in your mobile dashboard, but you can sometimes get what you need.
That was parenthetical.
Oh, that I thought that happened. Our own Amy Alberts from the Tableau design team. She is a user researcher who spends many hours just sitting with people to understand how they use their phone. What do they use it for? What does it mean to them? Why is that valuable? Amy and I also worked together on the Windows Phone at Microsoft, where I observed her follow people through their lives outside of work to figure out what it is that people needed from phones. And her guidance in the process of design is, number one, design with intent. Understand what it is that you're trying to achieve, not what you're trying to do, but the outcome that you intend. Number two, reflect on the design. This is like that process that we were just talking about, looping back, considering, am I reaching my intention, and plan and build in time for that. And third, conform where an existing pattern is available. So Eric was talking about this earlier. You scroll with your thumb on a phone. We don't have to reinvent that experience. That is a muscle memory people have that we can leverage in order to be faster at providing a valuable result. So does anybody know what this is? Yes? No? I'll give you a hint. It's in the top menu bar. It's Photoshop, yes. And what is Photoshop for? Editing what? Photos. As we're editing photos. People use it to create photos. I started editing photos in Photoshop at an early age. It was a formative experience for me. I loved the power of this tool to think creatively, to experiment, to try different things. I mean, just look at all the tools that it has, this tool palette. It has the layers and the transparencies and the clipping and all the stuff. That is awesome. Does it remind you of anything else? Tableau desktop? A bit. That's what it reminds me of. Here's another app. Does anybody know what this is? Instagram. What can you do with Instagram? Edit photos. Oh my gosh, you can edit photos. I mean, is its primary purpose the editing of photos? No. It's social media. It's for sharing. It's primarily for sharing. But you want to be able to curate your story and share an intended message. And in order to do that, you bring the context, that photo, you make some edits to it. So what they've done is they've simplified the problem down to its essence. They've reduced that problem. And in fact, the design of this particular application happened before they took their app to the web. So they started on the phone. So in considering this question of intent and what are you trying to get to, important factors, questions that I ask myself. Number one, who are we trying to help? That's really important because if you don't know who it is that you're trying to help, it's very hard to know in the end whether what you have is valuable. Number two, what is the context what is the problem and the context of that problem that they need to have solved. So they have, in the case with Kelly, they may have a need to have access to information at their fingertips in and around a very specific customer use case at the time they're talking to that customer. That is kind of what they need and the context in which they need it so that they can have the right conversation. Hey, did you know that we have a new product available that you're not purchasing? Hey, did you know that you're down from last year, and was that intentional? Related questions, what might they need to know next? This is often something that we talk about with Tableau. What is your next question? What are you going to ask? But in the context of mobile, maybe a little bit more simplified, and then the action they're going to take. So in mobile, the action might be, I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to text somebody. So what if, instead of trying to reduce down a desktop, we went with the approach that Instagram tried, started first on the phone design, and then scaled it up? This can sometimes be an easier path. Eric, can you take us there?
I could. I like to, in fact. So a couple of things to keep in mind. And by the way, you'll find if you download this deck, and you're more than welcome to download it. It's available already, I think. You'll find these yellow cards within it. These are just quick reference. That's the whole idea with these things, just like we see here is do, don't sorts of things. Just a couple of things that I would call out are, keep it simple, right? This is a small screen. Even if you have scrolling, try to reduce noise as much as possible and bring the important things to the forefront. Test, I mentioned that once, I'll probably say it several other times. White space, another big thing for me in particular. I tend to find visual clutter to be really, I can almost feel my stress rise when I got too much to look at. Crosstabs are definitely to be avoided on that. If you consider what it would look like, again, that's a desktop or browser sort of activity, full screen sort of thing. One of the other, making large touch targets. So as you plan for interactivity, make sure that it's something that's big enough for a finger to hit, for instance. For those of you who are longtime dashboard designers, anybody who's using like URL actions to drive a link from one dashboard to another, just be warned, those won't work. I think you and I even talked about that yesterday at lunch.
If you're using local host URLs, they don't work.
Yeah, which is what most people do, yeah. So bear in mind, and better to be safe than sorry, as they say. Around mobile, around the visualizations themselves, there are a few rules to just bear in mind. Again, large enough to touch. Reduce the number of marks as much as you can. That's very intentional because Tableau actually has an algorithm that tells it whether we can pass the data and render the viz directly on the phone or whether the rendering happens on server and passes an image. There are two reasons in particular to keep in mind with that. One is that it's slow, which is a bad experience for mobile users. Two is that it will impact your ability to have offline mode for whatever that visualization is. So we're just passing an image. There's no data that's going with it. So keep those things in mind. A couple of other quick tips. Text size. And just keeping it large but light. So the Tableau book, which is the default font, is a great example. Just making sure that things are big enough. Limiting the number of columns so that there's only a couple of columns. Anything more than that, again, you start getting dense. Reference lines are a great way to show value rather than using mark labels and things like that. So, let's dig in.
Can we get to a demo?
I'd love to.
Who likes demos?
I like demos.
I like demos.
Okay, so the scenario this time is we're designing for a category manager who is a road warrior sort of guy. He's the guy that's on the road most of the month, traveling to the various sales regions. He needs to know what the product mix is by category. He also needs to understand what the sales trends are in each of the regions, and he needs to know which products are performing well and which ones are performing poorly from a profit standpoint. So let's see what we can do to help him out, shall we? Let's start off with, so we said mix by category. Now I'm intentionally building, let's try it on label instead of color. Better.
You did not just build a tree map by hand.
I did, as a matter of fact. So the tree map is actually really useful on mobile if you've got just a few members in the dimension because it creates this nice, touchable, yet analytically valuable bit of information here. You can just at a glance see the proportion, which, by the way, of the three, which one is our largest seller by quantity? Office supplies. Even at 9 points, you can see that. Now let's add a little bit of extra richness to this. I've cheated and pre-built a table calculation. We'll throw that on color, and now it's even a little bit clearer. I think that's enough information for this for our category manager at least to start. Let's bump it up just so we can see a little bit. Not bad, right? So the second question was around sales trends. And I know we want actual sales by dollar value. How many Mac users out there? A few. Okay, so for Mac users, this is Option Command Click. For Windows users, this is a right-click drag.
That's a great trick.
How many of you have seen that? A few people. I got it. Okay, good. I'm glad. That's actually one of my very favorite things within Tableau from an ease of use perspective. So I'm glad people have discovered it. For those of you who hadn't seen it before, remember that. Save you a bunch of clicks. Command Option. Okay, so I know that our category manager wants this at the week grain. So we'll select that. And we're looking for region. That's a little bit spaghetti.
It's beautiful. It's like highlighters.
It is. It's like I turned my kids loose with crayons, right? Well, 10 years ago when they were in crayon stage. So let's visually ambiguate that by bringing that out onto rows as well. Now, I really eventually like to get rid of that axis, but I also need to know what these numbers are. And I also have some scaling issues with this one driving the height of the axis. So a couple of things that I'll do is edit this axis. There we go. And I'll make it independent so that you can see each one of them within their own context a little bit better. Now, I could turn on mark labels and just pop a label onto that and maybe set min and max, but we can do better from an analytic perspective. If we bring out a reference line and maybe set an average, put the value on it, we've got that. So now you can see when we're above and when we're below average, for instance. And even better, watch this. If I select a mark, see, there's a problem there.
There's a problem. I see a problem.
Let me select the lower mark. Now you can see it. So you can see the value. You can actually understand a little bit more of the context. We have a slight formatting issue that we can fix. So let's do this. Part of the point of all this is you don't have to stick with the defaults. You can change things on that. So let's go ahead and make that K. Let us maybe align that bottom. And let's take the weight of that line down a little bit. So I'll make it the very skinniest little line there. Not bad, right? Now, continuing with that trend, let's make these guys nice and really fine. So you can very clearly see the ups and downs, but it's not like visually overwhelming. I really like this view. So third question was profit by product, top and bottom performers. So let's tack that briefly here. So we said profit and product. Okay, so if we sort that, now that's an awful lot of data. So, and it's certainly going to be miserable on a phone, and we really only want to know the top and bottom 10. Fortunately, I've actually created a set that we can use to filter that down. By the way, do people know about sets? Sets are the sexiest thing in all of Tableau, I think. So if you haven't been to, if you explore them, they're amazingly powerful. Go to the talks that you can find on those. But what we're going to do right now is just add a little bit more context to this so we can very clearly see what's performing well, what's performing badly. Now, there's still a little bit of a problem. If you start thinking about that form on this form, that's going to be, right? So what I want to do is take advantage of something I learned in junior high math called absolute value. Look, we've got all the bars pointed the same direction now.
Oh, you just broke Viz best practice.
I know, it's terrible, right? By the way, all of the rules, once you know the rules and live by the rules, you can start to break the rules. So please, please, please break the rules.
They're more like guidelines, really.
Is it? Yes, yes, they are. I'm going to clean this up since I now actually have both absolute value and the profit value. Let's clean up this tooltip. We're not doing a lot of cleaning up of tooltips in this session, but I encourage you to do so in your practice. Better. Now I've got the value. We can even edit this axis and remove the silly title, and we're good. But I'm not done yet, because I still have that really crowded set of headers over here on product name, and I'd love to be able to hide those, but still give the user some feedback. So let's do this. Throw that on label. Let's justify this to the left. How about we take the transparency down into maybe the mid-30s? That's probably good. And then we can turn off the header.
That's starting to look kind of good.
It's like, I have this thing where I feel like there's a point in a viz where I feel myself relax a little bit. This is probably my ADD-ness gets me wound up when I get too much stuff. That's the point where I was like, okay, so let's do this. Let's actually make this just a little bit more finger-friendly. We'll stretch it out a bit. Okay, I think that's some pretty good raw material, don't you?
Yes.
So let's
I do. I think it's good.
I think it's tremendous. Let's pop back over here and talk about how we might bring this together. And again, just a few tips about how you might approach designing a dashboard. Again, we've said it before, but we'll probably say it again. Design for scrolling, design for thumbs, actions, and other interactivity for what we call progressive disclosure. Now, progressive disclosure can be as simple as tapping on a mark and getting the tooltip. Like, I'm asking for something and there it is. It can also be filter actions, which can be used not only to filter other sheets, but even to show and hide other content. That's a really powerful thing. You'll actually see that a little bit later. Parameters, filters, legends are all nice on a big dashboard. They're kind of dead weight on a mobile device. They take up space, they don't add analytic value. Limit the use of those whenever possible. I really do love filter actions, and that's the way I approach like almost every filter that I build. By the way, don't forget, even though we've been talking about building for portrait, don't forget to turn it sideways once in a while and just have a look. See what it does, make sure it doesn't do anything too weird. And a quick note actually about the current mobile app. Now you've all heard about the beta for the new app. The current app can sometimes break the views if you show sheets as tabs. You're familiar with that on publishing? So uncheck that for mobile devices and you'll be safe. Sometimes it seems to work and a lot of times it doesn't. So keep that one in mind. So shall we bring these together?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm in. Love it. So now what we're going to do this time is just kind of a quick thing. I'm not going to think much about the desktop view at all. I just want to get my content here. Let's go ahead and add the phone layout. And again, I think this category manager actually has, shockingly, the same phone as Kelly. So let's stick with that. We'll go ahead and add that layout. Now I want to take a little bit more control, so let's do that. Edit layout. Get rid of that. Let's actually fit this to the entire view. The nice thing about tree maps and fit entire view, watch what it does as you scale it.
Yeah.
Change it. If I make it smaller, it does that. Funny enough, it actually flips back. So we already talked about, I need to fix something here, Zach. I completely, so look at this.
You totally need to fix something.
So we actually talked about the sales trends. Let's go back and take a look here.
Oh, now, it's that iterative design process.
The squiggle, I live in the squiggle, by the way. Let's go ahead and hide this header. Uncheck show header, and then let's rotate this label.
So much space savings.
Now if I get rid of this, slide that down just a bit. It's starting to look a little better, right? Now we can do things like turn off that header. I think I like it better with the header, so to speak. Let's turn that back on. Fine. Now we've got the primary things that we need to see here. Turn off the titles. And finally, let's scroll down. I think I want a little more real estate for this. It's somewhere in that range, probably. Get rid of this. Now, I was talking about interactivity. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Perfect. Okay, so it fits nicely, probably nice big finger targets. I talked about interactivity, and as you may have heard me say up front, this category manager actually needs to be able to filter by these categories. So what would I use to do that? A filter action, exactly. And we set that. This is one thing to note is when you're building mobile designs, there are some things that can only be done from the default view. So just pop back out, set the action. I'm going to give him a little bonus and actually let him filter by the sales trends as well. So now if we pop back in here, select furniture. Whoa, that's wrong.
Wait, what happened to our top 10, bottom 10?
I don't know. Hold on. And now it's even wronger.
Oh.
Does anybody know why? That top and bottom, what was that? Yeah.
Oh, man.
You are the rock star.
You went right to it.
She got to the solution. Let's do this. So adding to context simply means this happens before the next thing. That's the simple way to kind of consider that. So I'm going to make that filter, make both of those action filters happen before the top and bottom 10. So it holds the context. The context is office supplies and East region, top and bottom 20. Make sense? Really, really cool, powerful stuff. Available on right click, by the way. So now, I think our dashboard's pretty sweet. Want to see what it looks like in the mobile app? Let's do it. That's my children, by the way. That's what they look like from the front.
They're beautiful. I love how personal mobile devices are.
Do you want to have them for a weekend? They're actually pretty nice. Okay, so let's go ahead, and this is the new mobile app. I was so excited to actually get to work with this today. There's offline mode. I'm going to go live with this. And let's just check our interactivity. Now, obviously, I didn't publish the one that we just built. This is one that I published a week ago or something. That all that interactivity is there. Scrolling. This is pretty tight, I think, right? Just added a title. We could probably monkey around with the tooltips, but I think this is pretty darn good design. What do you think?
That's great, Eric.
What's the what?
That Tableau logo, you can pop that out, tap on it. That Tableau logo is to send feedback, and it goes directly to the product team. If you're using the new beta application, that's basically like chat with the devs.
Why do we have 3 years of data on the mobile app? If we're using it just to check this reference, why would we want that long trend?
It's a good question. Have you thought about, in this context, why you would want to have such a long trend?
In this particular one, no. That's one of the things, though, that I would probably go back to the category manager and actually talk with him about that, right? Actually understand what it is that he'd need. It's a great question, though.
It was a good question, and I think this is an example of the design process. That question was one that didn't come up when we were doing it, but now it has, so we have new information and we can continue and evolve.
But remember, but that brings up the thing, is this is iteration, right? Is there another question? Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's come find me afterwards, and we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, we got to keep moving, guys. We're not going to get through the rest of the deck, but we are going to stay around, and you're going to stay around for questions. I have a lunch I have to go to,
okay.
But you can also contact us. We're going to show you how.
Yeah.
That was awesome. You guys are now fully trained graduates of the Mobile Design Jedi Academy. Oh my gosh, you did such a good job. But it was also kind of a lot of work. And, is there an easier way? Like, could there be a simpler solution that doesn't take quite so much time and require so much design? 2 strategies to help you improve your effectiveness. Number 1, be efficient. What does that mean? Pick and choose your battles. So we spent a lot of time making the perfect mobile dashboard. We spent very little time making the first dashboard that we looked at. There may also be a third option, which we're going to offer you. Choose the right solution for the right problem. Second, how can you leverage others and grow support so that you're not the only one that has to do this heavy lifting? What can you teach to other people that will help them to self-serve, to solve some of their own problems? So Eric,
Yes.
I feel like there must be a more balanced approach. Can you help us to bring balance to our mobile dashboard design?
I think so.
He thinks so.
Let's give it a try.
I
So,
saw him practice this before.
universal approach. This is the idea that you'll build a single dashboard that will just scale to whatever device it lands on. And it takes a little bit of thought, but it's actually pretty straightforward to do, and it's beautiful when it's executed correctly. So if we go to, let's go over here. So this is a dashboard for merchandisers, and we're looking at it in desktop, of course. The interactivity is as such. So we've got a highlight action, but I can also select marks and drill from subcategory and category all the way down into order, so I can actually see what the order mix is. If you imagine a merchandiser who spends part of their day at a desk, maybe interacting with this, but might also get out and walk a sales floor. And instead of that, they're not hauling their laptop, they may have an iPad with them or something like that. And then finally, they might actually be out on the road visiting vendors, for instance. And in that case, they might just have their phone with them. So let's build something that will scale for that. If we go ahead and rather than like even adding new device layouts or anything like that, let's just give this thing a range. Now I don't care about an upper bound, I just want to limit how small it can get, and Tableau will automatically scale it. So I want to give it a lower bound around the size of a phone. I think 1300 works nicely. So it's 400 by 1300, just enough to give it a little bit of visual space vertically so we can scroll. And that's kind of what it looks like in desktop. If you then publish it to server, let's take a look. This is that same dashboard published. Now, if I grab this little corner, and so first of all, we're sitting at a desktop. Now we're out on the sales floor, and we have our iPad. Snaps and re-renders.
It reflowed. That's awesome.
Now, with an iPad, you're a lot more likely to be, turning it like a steering wheel, right? You imagine somebody holding it one way and then opening it up.
I don't
and
use
all of
my
a sudden,
iPad like this.
I do. Don't you? Well, it's usually one hand. But if somebody turns it to portrait mode, it works for that. Same dashboard, and if we scale it all the way down to something about the size of a phone, it'll re-render for that.
Awesome.
How cool is that?
That's
It's just a little bit of thought. All of that interactivity is still there. Just one design, and you're there.
That's great. So that's what you call universal design.
Universal design. Now, it wouldn't be any fun if the people who are out on the road weren't able to participate in things like the conversations that you have with comments or subscriptions or being able to get alerts when you're on the road. And rest assured that you can get alerts and you can set alerts and subscriptions directly from your device. You can comment, and we'll come to share and annotate, but I actually want to show you what this looks like. Let's go ahead and take a look. First of all, imagine you're in an email client and you've gotten an alert. Click through, bounce right in. You'll notice that I'm actually passing through the browser. I'll probably be prompted to log in, and there, let's see what it is. Let's see Face, I love that. And then open, And I'm actually just bounced right through in a nice, smooth, easy process. I can open this. Oh, I bounced to the old app. I forgot about that. Let's switch back, shall we? Nope, wrong one. Let's go all the way to here. There we go. Got to show off the new app, right? So you can see that we could actually set an alert from here as well. You can subscribe. You can, of course, comment. And I'm not that clever when it comes to having a conversation with myself, thankfully. And then, so you can continue the conversation right there online. But I think my favorite feature is this. Oh, now I have
not
to...
yet implemented in the new application, Eric.
Okay, fortunately, I still have the old one up.
The dangers of demoing beta software.
You think I'd know by now. Let's go ahead and share this and dig it. I'm going to make this red. I'm going to grab a pen, and I'm going to go all Jeff Bezos on people.
What?
And I'm going to send that to
Do you guys
Zach.
know about that? He's like famous for sending these question mark emails to people.
Yeah. Somebody emails him, he shoots it off to the right person with a question mark, and there you go. By the way, I just texted Zach that, and if he got the alert on his phone, click right back through and get the app.
You did not.
Whoa, did I?
It's right here.
I did, didn't I?
No, it totally worked.
See?
There it is.
But better, he can click it. It'll it's like magic. It's amazing. So, there. Now, how do you go forward with this out into the world? So, making it part of your practice means just trying it. This is Tableau. This is iteration. This is try, go out and do it. It's not hard, right? You've seen, what you've seen today isn't complicated stuff, and it's not that different from what you're doing right now. It's also better if you get other like-minded people involved with you. Start yourself a makeover mobile Monday or something like that, where you take a dashboard that you've got and rebuild it for mobile. Just see how it works. And finally, find the end users. You know who they are. You know the people that need to consume this. Go talk to them, ask them, show them, get their feedback, and take it back into your practice. You'll become better dashboard builders. Frankly, it'll probably even improve your full-scale desktop dashboard skills. You'll be more economical. You'll understand more about how people see these things and how they interact. And it is a really powerful way to go build this practice and make it part of your community wherever you are.
That's wonderful. Eric, thank you for all of your demoing and sharing of the tips. Those are excellent demos.
I have a question for you, Zach.
Yes, what is your question? This?
Yes.
What is it?
We've packed a lot of stuff into this. Are there resources we can give to these people or share with them that they can take out and learn more about this?
So these are some of the things that have influenced some of my own thinking and some of the thinking on the team. On the left, has anybody read The Design of Everyday Things? Yes, a few people. Yeah, I think of this as kind of fundamental knowledge about product design. It's a really good bring up, kind of the basics. A couple of great dashboarding books, one that launched this year and one from last year. On the right are a couple of books about culture of creativity within an organization. One of them is about Pixar and the culture that they try to cultivate in order to create the best ideas, and that leads to the products that they're able to deliver to market. And the other one is the story of Hallmark, who, through a series of sort of corporate mergers and changes, ended up in this place where they had lost their creativity, and it's the story of how they regained it, which I found very compelling. There's some research you can read online. There's this eye tracking study that Amy, that we talked about before, has done. So you can see what it is that people actually look at in a dashboard, and I found it fascinating. And then the second thing is a kind of a reflection on complexion reduction, which is not just the idea that content is being reduced and purpose is being reduced, but also things as simple as color. To avoid some sort of distractions and other things. And it's kind of a romp around what seems to be happening in some apps today. This QR code you can scan right now. will take you to Eric's public page where you can get all the samples for the session. You can actually tap through them and engage with them if you want. And as a bonus, there is this viz of jazz clubs and people that are playing from now until Saturday?
Yes, it does expire on Saturday.
That's awesome. So there you go. This is a bonus resource on his public site. Our journey has come to an end. We learned how we can quickly create some mobile layouts. We developed you all into incredible mobile Jedis. You have the ability to think in terms of these three patterns, the reductionist approach, the mobile-first approach, and the universal approach. And you have some skills and some ideas that you can take back to your organization in order to promote a culture of mobile creativity and design. That's it for us. Please fill out your session survey. This picture is wrong. It's from last year. That's not where it is. And there are many more related sessions to mobile, although some have already passed. But you can find them by searching the word mobile in the TC app. That's the best way to do it. And thank you very much. You can reach us on Twitter here if you would like to talk more, or find us in the kiosks. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.